people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Carolyn Dubois claims baddest woman on the planet tag ahead of MVP debut this Friday. A title that is neither proven nor earned. Carolyn has not proven she's the baddest woman at lightweight, let alone the baddest woman on the planet, but she's not letting that stop her. Carolyn Dubois has said she is the baddest woman on the planet and will prove it on her debut for Jake Paul's MVP Promotions on Friday. Dubois, the WBC lightweight champion, will face American Camila Panada on December 19th on the undercard of Paul versus Anthony Joshua in Miami. After signing with MVP last week, Dubois was ushered onto the Paul versus Joshua card immediately, having not fought since March, what turned out to be her final fight under the Boxer banner on Sky Sports. So per recent reports, MVP is set to ink a sort of broadcast deal with Sky that could see Carolyn's fights return to the platform. The 24-year-old has been touted as the future face of women's boxing and said she wants to make a statement on her MVP debut. I think you're going to see Carolyn Dubois, what she brings, and that's excitement. Dubois said at Wednesday's media workout in Miami, speaking of herself in the third person, every time I step into the ring, it's excitement, it's knockouts, it's bad intentions. I believe I'm one of the baddest women on the planet, and I can't wait to show it on one of the best platforms. It is true, Netflix is many times a bigger platform than Sky Sports, than anybody really. It's a blessing. I sit down and I'm so thankful to God, thankful to my brothers and sisters who've come out with me, thankful to my team, and it's time for me to shine, show the world who Carolyn Dubois is. I stand alone. I'm happy to do that. You're looking at the face of women's boxing, the baddest woman on the planet, and I can't wait to show it on Friday. Dubois was previously signed with Ben Shalom's Boxer, but joined a long list of British fighters to join Paul and MVP, who have prioritized women's boxing. I think MVP has fast established itself as the flagship promoter for any woman boxer from anywhere around the world, though I do question how taking Carolyn away from British shores will affect her career moving forward, as most of the shows that MVP does, if not all of them, are here stateside, away from a British audience and a British time zone. It was a rather convenient arrangement that Carolyn had, boxing on Sky, a well-known network to all the Brits. Now she's going to be boxing on MVP shows that are divided between Netflix and DAZN, but on an American time zone. So they're going to have to really push her and promote her. Whatever happens or doesn't happen in Carolyn Dubois' career now is all on MVP. You can sign as many of these women as you want to, but once you have them, then you have to promote them. On that same side of the street as Carolyn are fellow champions Stephanie Han, Terry Harper. There's going to be pressure on MVP to make fights with them for Carolyn. There's going to be pressure to do the Baumgardner fight.
They see it being the face of women's boxing and the best women boxing, you know, and I disagree with that 100%. I think it's awesome that we're both on the same card and you'll be able to make up your own mind about who is the best.
I mean, baby, I'm the co-main event for a reason. So listen.
I go pulling this card.
One thing about little puppy, one thing about a puppy. One thing about a puppy, you gotta train them, baby. You gotta take your time with them puppies.
Okay.
So take your time.
Okay.
Patient, yeah.
Good.
Let the big dog do what the big dog do, baby. Eat.
Okay.
All right? Alright. Yeah, you
Family Feud.
Listen, you
Family Feud.
You in the
Bring out the contract.
Listen, you in the USA. This ain't the UK, baby. This the USA, baby. We gonna welcome you real good here in Miami. So yeah, let's have a good time Friday night. Welcome to the
We're gonna see. Listen, we're both on the same party. You guys can make up your mind.
Welcome to the team, baby.
I love it. A little planting the seed. All right.
Things got spicy between Carolyn and Alicia at the press conference for Joshua versus Paul, it being that they're both boxing on the same card, but they've already minced words before they cite to MVP. Now, there's no reason they shouldn't fight. Nature of it stems from Carolyn's affinity for Clarissa Shields, who we all know has a beef with Alicia. Since Clarissa's got a beef with Alicia, Carolyn, her attack dog, has a beef with Alicia. Very soon they're going to be campaigning at the same weight. I figure that after Alicia beats Layla this weekend on that co-main event, she's going to then move up. There'll be no reason to stay at Super Feather. All the big names now and the big fights are at lightweight, and it's on MVP to make it happen. Pay the fighters.
Pay to play.
It'd be the first major fight of Carolyn's career, and the first major fight in a while for Alicia, because it's been a while since the Michaela Mayer fight, since the undisputed title fight afterwards. It's not Alicia's first major fight, but it will be her first major fight in a long while. So there is added pressure on the both of them to look the part this weekend. Maybe a little more on Alicia, since she's the more experienced fighter in the fight. The more maturated fighter whose career is further along. Maybe there's a little bit more pressure on Alicia to look the part this weekend. In any event, now that Carolyn's over there and promoting them both, there's no reason this fight shouldn't happen in a timely fashion. MVP has picked up a good chunk of the talented female fighters, the somebodies in the sport. Now it's on them to make the big fights.
So when you were growing up and you would cross paths with them, like, what was your relationship like? Were you guys cool? Were you friends? Was there any type of friction?
Yeah. No, never was no friction. I was a fan of him. I always thought he was a good boxer. Speed, power, athleticism. Everything that he had then, he still got now. So, hell of a fighter.
How do you feel about him now?
Hell of a fighter. I think he's a beast.
He's somewhat of a polarizing figure in the sport. Like, he has said some things that have rubbed people the wrong way. Some might even call it racist things as of late. Do you feel like he's crossed the line? Has he made anything personal? Maybe not to you specifically, but, when you say things like that, you might piss off a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm going to make him pay for a lot of them things that he said about black people. But at the end of the day, I know he's not racist. I know him deep down inside. He's truly is a cool person. He wants to be great. And this is the type of fight that I really enjoy.
So how much will Teofimo Lopez's perceived bigotry be a factor in marketing this fight? Because the things he said in the past couldn't be mistaken for anything else, anything other than a fleeting sense of bigotry. I mean, when he was having it out with Top Rank, why did he say that they can keep all of their black fighters? Why did he make mention of the race?
Why would he have said that?
And his other references to monkeys and bananas. In today's polarizing climate, you can't say something like that with no knowledge of how it might sound to other people. It's a free country, and you have freedom of speech, but that freedom doesn't mean freedom of consequence and how you might make yourself look to a lot of other people. I think Teofimo knows exactly what he was doing when he said that stuff. The problem with him is he doesn't stand on it and he doesn't stick to it. It's not like Cooney versus Holmes,
to where the marketing strategy for that fight was the racial divide. It was a big part in marketing that fight. Cooney the white guy, Holmes the black guy.
Was a big part of selling that fight. Ask any boxing historian. That may not be the case here because Teofimo doesn't stand on his perceived bigotry. He only does it in passing.
Some of Shakur Stevenson's comments are conflicting because on one end he says that deep down inside he knows Teofimo's not a racist, but at the same time he said, I'm gonna make him pay for a lot of the things he said about black people. So is he a racist or not?
That is, do you believe he's a racist or not? Because if you don't believe he's a racist, then what are you making him pay for?
Marketing strategies aside, this is going to be a chess match. No matter what they say to each other in the build-up and what strategies they use to sell the fight, Lopez versus Stevenson is boxer-puncher versus pure boxer, which doesn't make for the most titillating matchup.
In terms of action, in terms of aesthetics, those two styles in the same ring don't make for an all-action shootout. They make for a chess match where the boxer-puncher is looking for safe entry to get within striking distance of the pure boxer, but the pure boxer's not letting him. Pure boxers, in their fashion, limit how many openings they give the other guy. They're safety first, fighting from a safe distance, only throwing 1 and 2 punches at a time, as to not give the guy too many countering opportunities.
It doesn't make for a fun fight. It's a fight I think Shakur can win, but it's not a fight that I'm all that excited about, if that makes sense. It's a credible scalp for Shakur, the most credible on his resume, if he can win.
But you know, I might pay more attention to another fight that's happening that same day in Xander Zayas versus Abbas Baru. That's a different stylistic matchup. Boxer-puncher versus pressure fighter, which comparatively makes for a more entertaining fight. The only thing about that fight is, I don't know how we're supposed to watch it.
What's supposed to be Top Rank's very first fight in the new year, and we still don't have any broadcast information, set to go down late next month.
The same day as Stevenson versus Lopez. You have to wonder, how is Top Rank billing this? Are they billing this as a pay-per-view the same day as another pay-per-view?
It's not good. I like Zayas versus Baru as a fight a bit better than Stevenson versus Lopez, but Stevenson versus Lopez features 2 big names. Zayas versus Baru only really features 1, and that's Xander Zayas.
Not as many people are familiar with his opponent as they are familiar with Shakur and Teofimo. I hope that the both of these fights are not being billed as pay-per-views, because then one will inexorably cannibalize the other if the fight fans have to choose which one they're going to buy, because they're only going to buy one.
The ones that are going to buy one, they're only going to buy one. You know, the rest of those guys are going to watch it on illegal streams.
But for the actual paying customers, I hardly think even paying customers are going to kick out the money for 2 pay-per-views on the same night, assuming Top Rank wants to bill Zayas versus Baru as a pay-per-view. I think that would be ill-advised, but we don't yet have any broadcast information.
The hope has got to be that Top Rank has already inked a deal with their new broadcast partner, and they're just waiting until the new year to announce it. And this could be the first fight of that deal. That's what the hope is. That's what I'm hoping.
We gotta see, because the only thing we know is these 2 cards are happening the same weekend on the same day, same night.
And that's not good.
I like Zayas versus Baru stylistically more than Stevenson versus Lopez, but Stevenson versus Lopez has more brand power.
Certainly there will always be that debate, but as far as what Terrence accomplished that Floyd did not accomplish, I think it's also more to do with the era and the way things were being manipulated, because Floyd was in the Ring Magazine title era, and Floyd won basically the Ring Magazine title in every weight class he was in, or a bunch, or at least for whatever ones he was in. I think early on in his pro career that wasn't the thing, but as his career went on, he had the WBC title and the Ring Magazine title. But either way, yeah, the debate will always rage. 2 excellent fighters, and in the post-Mayweather era, probably Crawford. Again, it can be debated because Usyk has done amazing. And it still remains to be seen where Inoue winds up. But certainly, you know, for all intents and purposes, also because Crawford is older and he's done more, you know, it's certainly right now, I would say Crawford.
I understand the discussion that Paulie is having. The question, I should say, is Terrence Crawford in this era what Mayweather was in his? Because Mayweather was perceived as being the consensus #1 pound-for-pound fighter of his era when it ended. Is Terrence Crawford those things now? And it's hard to say, because Floyd's fight with Manny Pacquiao was viewed as the #1 and #2 pound-for-pound fighters fighting each other, so that when Floyd wins, it facilitated his seat as the #1 guy of his era, whereas Terrence's fight with Spence, or his more recent fight with Canelo, that wasn't viewed as #1 versus #2. Thus, it's up for debate. And it also doesn't help that Terrence came up in a very competitive era alongside some great fighters in their own right. Some people would tell you that Inoue is pound-for-pound #1. Some others might tell you that it's Usyk. Usyk's undisputed runs are more impressive than Terrence Crawford's.
So it's up for debate.
It's really not intended to make disparaging comments about Terrence or his legacy, so much acknowledging that he wasn't the only great fighter of his era, and technically His era isn't over, not while the remnants of it still linger. Usyk is a part of that era. To some degree, so is Inoue. So whether or not Terence is remembered as the consensus #1 fighter of his era actually depends on what happens with them.
Now, say that Alexander Usyk sticks around a little bit too long and he loses, I think that's going to push a lot of people in the direction of either Terence or Inoue. Say the same thing happens to Inoue. Say he goes up to featherweight. He gets his ass kicked. He loses. That might push even more people in the direction of Terence because he, unlike them, in that scenario, would have retired undefeated. Just as, if not more accomplished than Usyk and Inoue without the career blemishes.
How Terence Crawford's legacy is remembered in this era that he shared with other great fighters really all depends on what happens with those other great fighters or what doesn't happen, because what if they don't lose? What if they both retire undefeated like Terence Crawford did? These are ongoing careers, particular to Inoue. If he goes up to featherweight and becomes a champion up there, beating another champion, well, that adds to his CV, that adds to his legacy, and strengthens his argument.
Did it make him a 5-weight world champion like Terence is a 5-weight world champion?
So it is up for debate right now. The answer to that question, is Terence Crawford in this era what Mayweather was in his? We don't have that answer right now, but eventually we're going to get it. Now, anecdotally, a part of me feels that Terence is a better fighter than Floyd Mayweather.
Some people wrestle with this, I know, but Pretty Boy Floyd, the more vicious and offensive version of Floyd Mayweather that actually went in for the kill, died out in between somewhere in 135 and 140, whereas Terence stayed a dog at 135, 140, 147, to a lesser extent at 154, and 168. He had the physical dimensions to venture to divisions where Floyd would have been too small to go.
Retained his stopping power as a welterweight, which we all know Floyd didn't do. By the time Floyd gets to welter, he stopped knocking people out.
It's becoming more and more of a discussion. Who was better, Terence or Floyd? To Floyd's credit, maybe he's got the better names on his resume, more Hall of Famers on it.
Though Floyd in his time did not face the politics that Terence faced. Floyd, when he becomes Money May, he wasn't avoided. Everybody wanted to fight him because he was the money, whereas Terence, for a period, was frozen out.
Can't be denied that those guys at 147, the vast majority of them, wanted nothing to do with Terence, which in some ways hampered his legacy, his career. Now, I think he more than made up for it with the win over Spence and the bigger win over Canelo.
I think that Terence took a risk at the very end of his career that Floyd would have never taken. The equivalent of Terence moving up for Canelo would have been Floyd moving up for Gennady Golovkin, and we all know Floyd didn't do that.
So a part of me feels that Terence is somewhat greater.
5-weight world champion like Floyd, but 3-time undisputed. Floyd never did that.
So in some ways, Terence is better.